All right. Well, it is 1:03, so I'm going to jump in and get started here. And as people trickle in, um, we'll just kind of let them jump in. I'm going to ask if you could keep yourself muted so that we don't have any over talking or anything like that. And then later on in the call, we'll have a time for some question and answer. But if you are not comfortable showing your face on screen, because I know some of us are at home in our sweatpants, feel free to put some questions in the chat at the bottom. In the chat, if you scroll to the very top, I've got my information up there, my email, ways to connect with me, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, that sort of stuff. So if you want to copy and paste that into a document for yourself, just know that that is at the very top of the chat. That's a great way to connect with me after this. There's also my calendar link is on there for TidyCal if anybody wants to schedule a call, but we can talk about that later as well. So let's jump in, and thank you all for joining. I appreciate your presence here today, and I want to hope that this time is valuable for you and that you get a lot out of this. Excuse me. So today we're going to talk about wallflower employees and how we can get them to kind of get off the bench, so to speak, and engage and contribute. So we're going to make a couple of assumptions about our wallflower employees. The first one is, well, they were interviewed, they were hired, and they are actively working in your business or your organization. So these are not deadbeat wallflowers. These are people who are actively working and doing at least a good job. The second thing that we want to assume is that they're doing a good job, because if they were not, they would probably be looking at plans of improvement or termination, something like that. So these are not bad employees. These are just wallflowers that need to maybe step up and engage a little bit. And we're going to talk about how we as leaders can facilitate that for them, because that's really our job as leaders. And so just a little bit about me. I want you to understand kind of where my mindset is and where my head is at. I am not a theory person. I don't like to talk in theory. I like to talk in practical application. So all of the things that I talk about, that I teach, that I give to people is really kind of the philosophy of learn it today, use it tomorrow. And it's never anything complex or difficult. These are all really basic things, but just some people don't know how to do these things. So a little bit more about me is I've been in leadership for almost 20 years in a variety of industries. I think my main, I guess where I cut my teeth would be public school administration. I was an assistant principal, dean of academic affairs, a new teacher coach. And then once I left the education industry, I was in real estate, business. I've been in church leadership for a long time. And those of you who have been involved in faith-based leadership know that that is a very interesting organization to lead people in, because people are often using their hearts to make decisions sometimes instead of what it may be what's best for the situation. So in a world that is increasingly electronic, what I specialize in is the flesh and blood, the people. I've always said that I do people really well. And so to give you a good idea of kind of who I am, in high school, I was not part of any single group. I was the guy who could hang out with the band kids. I could go hang out with the stoners. I could go hang out with the jocks. And that's what I did. I hung out with everybody. And I was the guy during lunchtime where I would go to all the different lunch tables and hang out with these people, because I was able to be a social chameleon enough where I could navigate those different social groups. So let's get back into our wallflower employees and dealing with these people and encouraging them to kind of get off the bench. So I want to do that by giving you a story and telling you a story. And this is a real story about a lady named Sally. And that's not her real name, but I changed it just to protect the innocent. And I'm going to talk about Sally. This is back from my public school days when I was a dean of academic affairs and a new teacher coach. So if you see me looking off to the side here, I've got some notes to make sure I don't forget any of these details, because it's really shows what we as leaders can do with some of our wallflower employees. So Sally, true story, case study, I've used this a number of times before, was brilliant, but she was quiet and she didn't know how good she was as a teacher. And so one of the things that I saw in my classroom observations was that she needed to let herself soar. And she was nervous about that. She was timid and shy. And I was like, Sally, you've got some great things going on in your classroom. I'd really like to see you lean into those things. So I talked to her about that and I said, you've got some really innovative teaching techniques. I'd like to see you aggressively lean into these things so that you can maybe grow that in yourself. And then obviously your students would be benefited by this. So Sally was on a 2-person grade level team, and her co-teacher was a very confident and dominant personality. So you would think, oh, maybe that's not going to work so well together because you've got a dominant person and then you've got somebody who's kind of quiet and shy, but they balanced each other really well. So there was no conflict there and they got along really, really well. So what I saw during my classroom observations was some really great things from Sally. And so what I did with her is I said, I want you to lean into these things and I want you to develop them. And I'm not going to talk to anybody else about them, but I want you to really, really lean into these things and see where they go. I want to see your students' progress and see how they develop with what you're doing with them. So let's stop right there and just talk about just some of the small things that were going on. First, I was observant enough as a leader to see what Sally was doing, see that what Sally was doing was new and innovative and really groundbreaking. The second thing was I was encouraging to her about her work. Third thing is I validated her and asked her to lean into what she was doing. And then I continued to monitor and assess not only her, but her students' progress. And it was going fantastic. Then, just as a fun thing, I threw out, you know what, Sally? I'm going to look at some other places in the building where these teaching techniques may be valuable and maybe we could use them in some other places. And then I just walked out of the room because Sally would be like, oh, no, 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 don't do that. No, it's okay. And I didn't want her to rebuff me in that way. So I just said, yeah, I'm going to check those out. And then I left. That's one technique that we'll talk about. So in the chat, if you would, tell me in 1 or 2, 3 words, what was I doing in communicating with Sally this entire time? What was the message that Sally was receiving from me that while I was talking to her about her teaching techniques? What do you think she was getting from me? I'll give you a chance to put something in the chat. Yeah, Shannon, thank you. Yeah, you saw value in her. Yeah, she definitely felt valued in that. Where she was like, wow, Todd's really paying attention to me and really encouraging me in this. And yeah, okay. So some other things I was doing was I was approving what she was doing. I was encouraging. I was supportive. I was really building her up. And what I was doing was I was also building relational capacity with her because now she trusts me because I was putting a lot of trust in her to see what she was going to be able to do with those students. So I was planting those seeds, but I knew well enough that I couldn't push her too hard, too fast. So I would just let that sit for about a week. And during that week, I was having casual conversation. I like to call those water cooler conversations. How many of you are old enough to remember water coolers? In the offices, in the cubicles, there's a water cooler. And, oh, hey, Jim's over there. I'm going to go ask him about the game last night. And you go over there, have like a little 10-minute break. Yeah. So I would have casual conversations with her grade level teacher during this time and just say, hey, Sally's doing some really cool things in her classroom, some really innovative teaching techniques. I'm really interested to see where that would go. 10-second statement, and then I would leave it be. And then the next day, I would say something else to the grade level teacher. So I'm starting to plant some seeds. I'm starting to water those seeds with the grade level teacher. And I'm also creating a little bit of FOMO because I'm not telling the grade level teacher what's really going on. Those of you who aren't familiar with the acronym FOMO, fear of missing out. And so then the other grade level teacher, a couple days in, starts saying, well, Todd, what's going on in Sally's classroom? I'm kind of curious, because when we think about it, when we're doing a job and we're really set in our ways and we're doing something well, if we're honest, we don't really like to change, do we? Most people don't like to change. So if I pique somebody's curiosity and start saying, hey, there's some really cool things going on over there, then I don't have to ask you to change. You'll start thinking about change yourself because you're curious about it. So here's another piece of this. Exceptional leadership is not time consuming. It does take purposeful and intentional interactions, But all of these interactions that I'm having with Sally, that I'm having with her grade level teacher, 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, but they're quick little statements. There's something encouraging. Hey, do you need some support for me to keep that going? No, because it's fantastic. Keep it up. How long did it take me to say that sentence? 7 seconds? Just those little things. Now, they need to be consistent because you're going to consistently water that. Like, and think about being a gardener. If you plant a seed, you got to plant a seed and then you have to water it every day. But do you flood it every day? No, just enough to keep the soil moist so the seed will crack and start to sprout. A little bit every day goes a long, long ways. So let's go back to Sally. And again, put this in the chat. I'd love for you guys to participate with me and just give me some feedback. And just, 1 or 2 words in the chat is totally fine. But what is one of the positive byproducts with my interactions with Sally? Shannon already said that she feels valued, but what are some positive byproducts that Sally is experiencing, or that maybe I'm experiencing from our interaction so far together? Supported. Yes, absolutely. She feels supported. I'm going to push. I see a thumbs up on supported. Yeah. I'm going to push you different. What is something I'm getting out of this as the leader, not personally, but what is something that I am receiving from my interactions with Sally? I'll give you a hint. It starts with loyalty, because I've been pouring into Sally for a couple of weeks now, right? I've been supporting her. I've been showing her that I value her ideas. I've been showing her that I am there for her. I've agreed with what she's done. Rapport, excellent. That's another word that's on my cheat sheet. Yes, I've built rapport with her. So now let's say I ask Sally to do something that she may not be 100% in agreement with or doesn't necessarily want to do. But if I ask her to do it, is she likely to at least consider it and do it? Absolutely. Because I've been pouring into her bank, so to speak, for a long, long time. So yeah, that's another piece of this exceptional leadership. It doesn't take a lot of time, but I am building something with Sally that's going to last a long time. So here's the rest of the story with Sally, because I don't want to belabor this for too long. At the grade level meeting, and let me back up for a second. I prepared Sally for this. We were going to have a grade level meeting where we're going to meet with the other grade level teacher. So I prepared Sally. I said, Sally, I'm going to ask you to share some of these teaching techniques with your grade level teacher. Okay, great. Thanks you. One person, she's shy, but it's somebody that she works with closely every day. She could do that. So what I'm doing is I'm giving Sally a small stage. I'm placing Sally on a small stage for her to just showcase some of the things that she's done in a comfortable way in front of somebody that she's comfortable with. So I did that at the grade level meeting. Hey, Sally, can you share some of the things that you're doing in detail with your grade level teacher? And I just sit there and I listen. Yeah. So now the grade level teacher is listening intently to Sally, because she's got this FOMO, like, what's Sally doing over there? What's Todd been talking about? I'm really curious about this. And then we talk about, hey, do you think you'd want to try some of these techniques in your classroom? I mean, they sound really easy. Absolutely, I would. Yeah, Sally, that's a great idea. Fantastic. Now I've watered that soil. The seeds are starting to sprout. And now I just let it be. I just back up and I let it be for a week or two, because now the grade level teacher is going to start having questions about how to do things, or maybe some tips or tricks. Who's that grade level teacher going to seek out? Me or Sally? Yeah, Sally. She's going to go talk to Sally. So now what is Sally doing? Sally is becoming a leader. Sally is now leading and guiding another teacher through some of these techniques that she has implemented in her classroom. Fantastic. So while that's going on, what's Todd doing? I'm having more casual conversations with other teachers down the hallway. Hey, man, did you hear what that grade's doing down there? Yeah. They started doing some pretty innovative teaching techniques. I'm really curious to see how it turns out. We've started to monitor it in one classroom, and student test scores are going through the roof in one classroom. So we've implemented it in the second classroom. I'm excited to see where it goes. And then I walk away. Again, a 60-second interaction. And then I walk away and I just leave that there. Now, put this in the chat just for fun. If somebody drops something in a conversation to you that you're curious about, but then they leave it and walk away, what do you do with that information? Do you start thinking about it? Does it sit in the back of your head? Do you start ruminating on it? Do you go for a walk after dinner and be like, oh man, I wonder what Todd was talking about when he said that? Huh. He just kind of dropped that in my lap and he left. Yeah, you want to know more? Absolutely. The curiosity is like, oh, Todd said something, or whatever. If you're talking to a friend of yours and be like, man, can you believe what Brian said? Oh, hang on, I've got it. My kids are calling me. I got to go. And then they walk away, and you're like, wait a minute. What did Brian say? What are you talking about? I can't. You don't leave me on a cliffhanger. A little brain science behind that is, why do you think TV shows always end a season on a cliffhanger? So you are thinking about it for 3 months and you're going to come back, tune in, and watch when the new season starts. So that's what I was doing with the rest of the teachers down the hall, just having casual conversations. Yeah. Oh man. Hey, Todd, what was that thing that you were talking about? Oh yeah, that grade level is doing some new innovative teaching techniques. Why don't you go talk to them, ask them about it if you want to. If not, don't worry about it. We're still working on it. Yeah. But man, it's amazing. Wow. Again, 10 seconds. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it purposefully. I'm creating some things. I'm being supportive, encouraging, and then I'm walking away. So about 3 or 4 weeks later, we then have a hallway meeting, which involves probably a dozen staff members and teachers. And then I ask Sally, hey, Sally, before this meeting, I want you to share a couple things, because I've talked to some other teachers. They're really curious. They're really interested about this. I want you to share just a couple things at the grade level meeting. The same things that you shared with your grade level teacher. Oh, okay. Yeah, I could do that. Sure, no problem. Because like we've seen in the chat, I've built rapport with her. I've got her loyalty now. She knows that I'm supportive and I'm going to have her back. So yeah, absolutely. She's going to do that. So now I'm taking Sally from a small stage and I'm placing her on a little bit larger stage, and I'm letting her shine. This is the key. I am helping Sally win. I am helping Sally shine because of her own personality. She will not do it herself, but she's got amazing things inside of her. And those things will benefit other teachers and ultimately the students in the school. And so, yes, we want these things to come out. I see them and I need to get them out of her. So this is the way that I am incrementally doing this. So now we're probably 4 weeks into this process. But now I'm starting to build capacity with Sally where she can start to lead some of these things. So let's go back to the gardener analogy. Now, I didn't plant all my seeds at the same time, but some of my seeds are not only starting to sprout, they're starting to flower. And what comes after the flowers? The fruit. So we've got some really great things going on here. Now, question for you. Put this in the chat. If you were Sally, or what you think about Sally, how does Sally feel right now about herself and her teaching ability? Go ahead, put 1 or 2 words in the chat. What do you think she's feeling right now? Yes, confident. She's feeling much more confident. She's feeling valued. Absolutely. She's feeling needed. She's feeling great. Yes. Just for fun, Cardwell, I see you join the chat. Like the hat, man. I saw that last time. So yes, Sally is now feeling fantastic about herself. Now, if any of you know wallflower people, and that's not a derogatory term, or maybe you are the wallflower. When you have somebody who is sowing into you, who is really encouraging you, that starts to bring you out a little bit, doesn't it? And you see people start to flourish and blossom. And that is exactly what I wanted Sally to do. So now we took that from a small stage of just on her grade level. Then we increased it to a wing hallway meeting where she's now sharing these things with the wing and the hallway. Where was my next step? The whole building. Building-wide staff meeting. Hey, Sally's got some fantastic things that she's been doing. We've started to bleed that into the rest of the hallway. We'd really like to share this with the rest of the school. So now Sally is leading a school-wide staff meeting. A month and a half ago, 2 months ago, if I would have asked her to do that, she probably would have ran and hid in her closet. But because I've been incrementally building her up and preparing her for this, she's ready to do it. Now, is she probably a little bit nervous? Yes. Is she probably getting little clammy hands? Yes. But I'm in the staff meeting, and right before we go into the staff meeting, and I go to Sally and I say right to her, look right in her eyes, Sally, you are going to rock this. Look at the positive effects that have been happening in your classroom, in your grade level, now in the wing. Look at student test scores, what they're doing, and their achievement levels are just shooting through the roof because of what you have helped the school implement. We need to multiply that. So yes, this is an opportunity. I'm here for you. If you get shy or clam up, just look at me. I'll jump in there. I'm the extrovert. I'll help you out. But this is really your baby, and you are doing fantastic with this. So I want you to go just knock this out of the park, okay? And she absolutely did. So I'm going to fast forward through the end of the story now. I leave this school building and I go to another school. There's another dean that comes in and replaces me. And how many of you know where this story is going? Nope, it's not Sally. It's not Sally. But that dean then moves on to another school building. Then guess who takes the dean of academic affairs? Yeah, Sally did. A couple years later, Sally took my old position. Now, am I saying that's because of what I did? No, I'm not going to take credit for that. Sally had greatness in her already. Did I help her discover some of it and cultivate some of it? Absolutely. And as leaders, that is one of the jobs that we need to do. So now, a couple of takeaways that I want to share with you from this story. Number one, Wallflower employees, they're not lazy. They're not bad. They're shy. They may be introverts, but they don't necessarily know how to let themselves shine. So I'm going to share a little personal story about myself. I am the extrovert. I am the person who goes to the grocery store and has a friend at the end of the checkout line. That's me. Like, oh, I like your shirt. Oh, where'd you get it? Great. And so, my girls are with me. I have younger children, and they'll come home and tell my wife, yeah, Dad made another friend at the grocery store today. And that's kind of who I am. Now, my wife is the opposite. She is an introvert. She would love to wake up in the morning and spend 11 hours sitting on the couch, reading a book, not talking to a single person. But one of the keys to our relationship is she said, Todd, when we first started dating, you were just kind of crazy. We met in high school, believe it or not. So I was definitely a young, crazy guy with a head full of hair. You can laugh at that. That was supposed to be funny. And she said to me, this was just a couple of years ago, she said, one of the things that drew me to you was you can do things socially that I can't. And so sometimes I would live vicariously through you. I would just sit back on the other side of the room and watch you be crazy and wish I could do that, but I couldn't. So I would enjoy myself by watching you do those things. Okay, interesting. So that's what our Wallflower people are. Sometimes they're just shy, they're introverted, and they don't know how. They need help. They need somebody to pull them out on the proverbial dance floor. All right. Second thing that I want to take away from this story that I want you to understand is you watching this right now, you participating, you are the leader. It is your job to help these people not necessarily do what you want them to do, but to take them to a place they didn't know they could go. As leaders, our job is to lead people to where they need to be, absolutely, but also to cultivate people into places they didn't know they could go themselves. We need to grow people. That's how we multiply ourselves in leadership. That's exceptional leadership. And again, it doesn't take a lot of time. You can do it quickly. Sometimes, yes, you need to sit down and have a heart-to-heart meeting that takes 30 minutes. Absolutely, that's part of the job. But you can do it quickly, and you can do it extremely well once you know what you're doing. Third thing, everyone is good at something. Find the thing that somebody is good at and speak to those things. Let them work in their strengths. Now, I want you to think about an American football team. We've got the big, huge guys who are on the line in front of the quarterback, right? And they're 350 pounds. And then we've got the little skinny guys out on the edge who are the wide receivers who run really, really fast and really, really far. What if we were to swap those positions? What if we were to put a 185-pound wide receiver on the line? What would happen? Yes, he would be crushed. Absolutely. And what if we asked a 350-pound lineman to go out on a 45-yard wide receiver route? He wouldn't be able to breathe by the time he got to the end of the route because he's so big. So everybody has a place. Speak to their strengths. Are they both football players? Absolutely. Are both of their jobs vital to the team? Absolutely. The key for the coach is to put them in the right positions so that they know what they're doing and they're doing the job that they're good at. Should the wide receiver be the one in the line? No, that's not a job he's going to be good at. So speak to the strengths of your employees. Now, do sometimes you have to speak to their weaknesses and grow them in those areas as well? Yes. That's a different conversation. That'll be a webinar that we'll do in another couple of weeks. And the fourth and final thing that I want you to think about as leaders, as working with other people, is the growth of one person will likely affect those around them if you are there to cultivate that growth. Now, Sally had greatness inside of her that she didn't even necessarily realize she had, but I saw it and I knew she had it and I knew that she could do great things with it. I needed to pull that out of her. As leaders, as managers, as you know, anybody on this call who has a direct report or somebody you're overseeing, let's even take this to a more personal level. Your children. If you have children, same rules and lessons apply. Your kids may want to play the trombone, but maybe they've got short little arms. Maybe that's not a good instrument for them to play. Maybe they'd be better at playing a different instrument. But you have to find the things that your kids are good at and then push them to those things. Same thing with your employees. Find the thing that they're good at, speak to their strengths, and help them grow in those areas. Now, do we need to grow people in the areas of weaknesses as well? Absolutely. But again, like I said, that's a call for a different time. So that's how we start to cultivate things, finding the thing that you're good at. I'm going to give you one more example before I kind of open this up to the chat for Q&A. But another example was I was working at a local church and doing some leadership consulting with them. And we had a volunteer at this church who just loved to volunteer. He's an older gentleman, and man, he loved to volunteer. The problem was he was not good at anything. And no knock on this guy. His heart was in the right place, but everything that he tried to do or wanted to do, he wasn't good at. And it was starting to negatively affect those around him because it's like, man, I'll make up a name, Walter. Why is Walter doing that? He's horrible at it. And if you're leading an organization, you don't want to have a job done horribly. You don't want to have the church librarian putting the books in the kitchen or whatever. So you have to do the job well. Then we found out something Walter was good at. Walter was really good at calling the shut-ins, the people who couldn't make it to church. He was really good at calling them, connecting with them, and just touching base with them. Now we found something that Walter was good at. So, hey, Walter, we want you to focus on calling the people who can't make it to church, and we're going to have somebody else step into some of these other things that you were doing, okay? Oh, all right. Well, if that's what you want to do, yep, that's what we want to do. You're really good at this piece, Walter, and we want you to keep doing that. Again, not necessarily addressing, Walter, you're bad at these things, but we're saying, Walter, you're really good at some of these other things, and that's what we want you to do. And so that's what we did. So, let's open this up to the chat. If you have any questions or something that you'd like to raise, please raise your hand in the chat. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, there's a little heart button that says react. You can press that and you can push raise hand if you have something you would like to say, or if you have any questions for me related to this topic or other topics in leadership. Feel free. Or if you don't want to be on screen or on camera, you can put it in the chat as well. I've got that open. I'm looking at that as well. And just as we're waiting, if there's, people who are typing or getting past their own wallflowerness to say something, if you scroll to the very top of the chat, I've put all of the links for ways to contact me in there. My email, my Instagram, my TidyCal, if you'd like to book a call with me for any reason. My YouTube channel, this video I'll record this and then we're going to put this up on the YouTube channel as well. My Facebook is on there. So feel free to reach out to me, any of those places as well. All right. Well, I don't see anything coming in at the moment. So I hope you found this valuable. I hope you found these lessons in leadership as something that you can implement in your own life. And again, remember, these things, yes, yep, Mr. Kang, I see that. I'm going to copy and paste that in right now. Let's see, there we go. There we go. There, now it's at the bottom of the chat. I hope you found these things valuable. The things that I teach in leadership, when I do consulting work, it's never complicated. It's never a system of 23 steps that you have to do. Oftentimes, I think leadership consultants do that just so that they keep you around longer. And it doesn't have to be. Being a great leader, being an exceptional leader is not about digging a deep, deep hole that you can just fill with all of your knowledge and understanding. No, being an exceptional leader is touching people's lives consistently, sometimes just in small ways that grow them in ways that they didn't know that they could grow themselves. And that's important. You need to be able to be what I call a social ninja. And I make up some of these silly names sometimes just because it'll stick in your brain and be like, man, Todd said social ninja. Yep, absolutely. You need to be emotionally intelligent. That's going to be my college word that I use. You need to be emotionally intelligent enough to know that, hey, I see something in this person and I can be socially intelligent and emotionally intelligent enough to navigate a conversation with this person, to say something to them. Now, here, I'm going to give you a great example. Cardwell jumped on a call. I've been on some calls with Cardwell before, and I know he's a hat guy. He's got these cool hats. And I knew that I could say something to Cardwell about his hat and he wouldn't hang up on me. So just a small interaction like that. Cardwell's smiling right now. So I know I connected with Cardwell. Thank you. And I know Cardwell's driving through New Jersey because he's a New Jersey guy. I used to live in New Jersey. So, man, Cardwell, keep your eyes on the road, man. I know what it's like out there. Anyways, I used to live just north of Cardwell. I was up near Hackensack, Cardwell. Yep. So I know where you're at too. Anyways, but you see what I'm doing right there? I did that on purpose. I had a little interaction with Cardwell right there because I'm socially aware enough that I could do that with Cardwell and I could have a small connection with Cardwell. So we as leaders need to be able to do that. Let me see. I'm going to click through some of the people who are on the call now just to see. Nope. I do not see anybody there. Okay. I had a call with somebody yesterday. They said they were going to be on the call and I was going to ask them if I could share their story. But I don't see them on today. But I had a call with somebody from Georgia yesterday and just kind of going through some of the things that they are dealing with in their company and some pretty negative things. And kind of at the end of the call, I didn't drop any major bombs on that person. It was just like, hey, this is what I'm noticing. This is what I'm seeing. And I think consistency in these areas is what's going to be what you need to do to really help out the people who are underneath you. And we both agreed on that. Absolutely. It was just a small thing, just more consistency in a certain area. And that was what it was. So, Shannon, I see that you raised your hand. Go ahead. You can let's see, I'll unmute you there. There you go. Go ahead, Shannon.
Hi. So I actually have been working on honing my leadership skills lately. So when this came across, it looked like a good thing for me to jump in on. I've owned a childcare center for 19 years. So we're a school age facility. A lot of my staff is part-time. We're early morning and afternoon, and then we come into camp. And I have for a long time, I would get frustrated with people who were not able to do something that I thought was easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't necessarily convey that to them, but in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. Why can't they just, well, a lot of people can't just, is what it comes down to. It's like, I have a background in broadcasting and marketing a long time ago, back in the telephone days. People I worked at a radio station with a tape deck thing, way back. But I think my mindset is much more sales forward. So I'll have, someone who's great at being in the front window, greeting the parents and talking to the kids and keeping an eye on what's going on in that front room. But for the life of me, cannot get them to give information over the phone in a way that, converts into someone wanting to come to camp. They just answer the questions and, they just hit them with the price and they don't take a minute to explain the program. And I used to just get very frustrated. And now what I've decided is that everyone has a strength. So it's so funny that you said that,
Hmm.
because that's like where my brain has been the last couple years. And even more so coming into this season, it's like I'm going to take this amazing, quiet, very easily stressed out human and move her from the front window where she gets stressed out and put her in the back with kids so that she can do what she loves, which is clean and play. Because
Yes.
what she hates is answering the phone and seeing a line of parents. And no matter how many times I try to say to her, just make the sub in front of you, like the little sub, and I'll just make the sub in front of you. Hi, thanks for coming. Keep making the sub in front of you. Help the parent who needs you and wave. She starts to hate her job. And then even though that's what I need of her, that's the wrong place for her to be. So
Yes.
sometimes I think our frustration with our staff, or, it can be that we're placing them in a position that's just the wrong place for them to be. And then it's not a training issue so much as it's just I need to be trained, like train myself to move her away from there because she's super valuable. She's just not comfortable there. And I don't think that's a thing that's going to be changed.
Yes, I was having a conversation with a business owner a couple days ago, and the topic or the subject of over promoting came up. And a quick, I love stories because stories really connect with us on a very intrinsic level. And this person was relating to me. They went to a restaurant on a regular basis, like on a weekly basis, and there was a
Mhm.
server there who was phenomenal, had been there over a decade. And this was a middle-aged woman, and her husband worked, and she just was doing this on evenings to earn some extra money. And she was amazing. Everybody loved this woman. And she was like, she brought people in, like people would go to dinner there just to be served by her. And so what the ownership did were like, man, she's fantastic. She's great with the staff. She's great with the people. Let's make her management. So they
Oh
did.
no.
She hated it and she quit in a month. They
Yeah.
over promoted her. So yes, I understand exactly what you're saying. Find what people are good at and then keep them in that role. Now, is there a way to grow them out of that? Sure. Maybe there's a conversation for your Sally. Say, hey, Sally, you
Yeah.
are phenomenal with these kids. Is there a way that we could maybe direct that towards parents and take some of that skill? And if she's like, no, okay. If she's like, maybe, then you as a leader need to figure out how to cultivate
Right.
those things within her. Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great analogy. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Anybody else have anything to share for the good of the cause before I wrap this up? I don't want Cardwell getting an accident up there. All right, just a few final things that I'll share with you is one is if this was valuable for you, will you put a one in the chat? Just the number one. If you found any of this information, not you, Cardwell, you don't get to put that in there. You're driving. But if you found this valuable to you, this is good information, just put a one in the chat. And can you see yourself implementing some of these things, some of these leadership strategies and techniques within your own leadership life, whatever that may be, whether it's with one person, maybe it's with two people, maybe it's with your children. Because Shannon, back to something that you said that I think is very, very valuable is we as leaders will say, well, I train them how to do it. They should just be able to do it. Well, let's go back to when your kid learned how to ride a bike. How long did that take? How many repetitions did that take? People need to do the same thing. And I've had that conversation with business owners and people that I've consulted with before. Like, yes, you train them how to do it. How many times? Well, I told them once. Yup. And then what I will do sometimes, just to illustrate the point, is I'll say, what's the first thing I said to you in this conversation? What? I don't know. Exactly. I told you once, but you didn't remember. Same thing with our employees. Now, when we're training somebody, yes, hey, you need to remember this. Let's commit this to memory. Sure, absolutely. They need to do their part as well. But when you train somebody to do something, we as leaders cannot realistically expect that to be perfection just because it came forth from our mouth as we sat upon our ivory tower and our mountaintop. No, we need to train people to do the thing that we want them to do, and then we need to support them regularly, just like growing a flower. We need to water that seed daily. We need to ask them if there's support. We need to pick out the weeds or things that are going to get in their way around them, and we need to make sure that they have fertile soil to grow and flourish in whatever it is that we're asking them to do, just like I did with Sally. So, if you would like to learn more concepts like this, I do a weekly webinar here with this same link every single week. And I've got a series that I'm running right now. This is, I think, number 4. And I've got a 20 subject series about the pain points of leadership and how to fix them. So next week's topic is going to be exploring toxicity in the workplace, but not the toxicity because Sally doesn't get along with Jim. We're going to be exploring toxic competitiveness because there's often competitive rivalries in the workplace that sometimes we as leaders put in place. I am not in favor of a sales board unless the employees are in favor of it. You put a sales board on the wall and we look at who's doing great and who's not doing great. Some people thrive on that. Other people kills them. It crushes their initiative. So we're going to talk about exploring toxic competitiveness in the workplace next week. So as we're wrapping this up, again, my links are in the chat there. You can easily just copy and paste that for yourself, put that into a document if you'd like to contact me after this call or set up a call with me. If there's any leadership topics that you would like to discuss, or maybe you have questions about, feel free to reach out to me there. And then I'll give you another second if anybody else has anything else they'd like to say in the chat. I don't see anything coming in. But I would like to thank all of you for joining me. Thank you for registering. I have your email, so with the next webinar coming out next week, you'll probably get a reminder email from me there. If you don't want my emails anymore, I totally get that because I'm on like 20 lists myself. I get it. Feel free. You won't hurt my feelings. You can unsubscribe to the emails. But check me out next week. And for the next, we got what, 16 more that we're going to do and every week. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your input, and thank you so much for being here today. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.